The last few weeks has involved some pretty complex philosophy and science, which, while that is totally what my channel is about, is due for a break this week, with a little less technical, literary-focused episode, in line with my early Luna and the Comics video. Having said that, as I began writing this, it's kind of got a little more complex and longer than I'd originally planned, but you can be the judge of that. As the title provocatively promised, I intend to present a theory of the intentions of the mind of our beloved Lauren Faust, as she came to write episode 1 and 2 of the series. To do this, I intend to identify those episodes with the Gothic literature interpretation, before suggesting why I think Lauren wrote them in such a way. Without any further ado then, let us get started. So what is the Gothic? This is a not altogether straightforward question, because the Gothic relates to a large paraphernalia of concepts, themes, and associations which amalgamate into a loosely defined genre. A brief history of Gothic texts includes such classics as Dracula, Jekyll and Hyde, and Wuthering Heights. As we can already see, these texts are very different, focusing on corruption of nature through industrialism, nature versus nurture, love, and duty, to name just a few divergent themes. What is it that relates them all, then, and allows us to draw MLP into the fold? Lots of critics would turn to romance, as that is a key feature of many Gothic works. However, it is only marginally applicable to MLP, as should be obvious. There is, however, another pillar of Gothic to which we can turn: supernaturalism. It is a little more complicated than this, to be sure, but one major unifying thread running through the Gothic works are supernatural elements, often dark and or mysterious in the plot, both in terms of the characters and the setting. Indeed, setting plays a crucial role in Gothic atmosphere. Dracula would be drastically less mysterious and sinister if it took place in a cottage, as opposed to a castle. As I hope I have made clear, the Gothic is as transient as the ghosts that inhabit it, and so penning it down is one of the most difficult literary exercises possible. Therefore, the best way to proceed is to use our focus of supernaturalism and talk about specific examples of the supernatural associated with the Gothic and identify their appearance in MLP. I shall start with Twilight. In Gothic literature, there is a particular character archetype known as the outsider. Often this concept is grouped in with that of the Byronic hero, and while I can agree that the Byronic hero is an outsider, I don't agree that the reverse is always true. The outsider is the character external to the Gothic world, which both they and the reader are entering for the first time. They are a way in for the audience, their stand-in who asks the questions and gets to the bottom of mysteries. Twilight fulfills this role perfectly in the opening episodes, as a comparison with a typical outsider in Gothic literature will show. Lockwood, the narrator of Wuthering Heights, is a good example. 1801, he writes, "I have just returned from a visit to my landlord, the solitary neighbour that I shall be troubled with. This is certainly a beautiful country. In all England, I do not believe that I could have fixed on a situation so completely removed from the stir of the city. A perfect misanthropist's heaven. And Mr. Heathcliff and I are such a suitable pair to divide the desolation between us." Lockwood has lived his entire life in the civility of the city, and is woefully unprepared for the dark and strange situation he soon finds himself in. Similarly, Twilight has spent her childhood and academic years up to this point in London's equivalent, Canterlot. She has never had to deal with darkness or supernatural element, any more than mishaps in magic kindergarten. In this way, both characters allow the audience a way into this strange and terrible world, and react in a similar way to how they might, allowing them to be drawn in. The next concept we shall look at is actually supernatural, rather than just an introduction to it, and is the character archetype of the Byronic hero or anti-hero. This concept is generally well known, but a potential definition is as follows. A Byronic hero is an outsider also, but generally due to being actively and often wrongfully exiled. They are rebellious, arrogant, and determined, but they are also captivating, powerful, and alluring in their destructive charm, often coupled with astonishingly good looks. The Byronic hero is the villain of the piece, and the centerpiece around which the whole story and Gothic universe takes shape. As things start to become darker and more supernatural, the Byronic hero loses control and sinks into their hatred and rebellion, becoming twisted in the process. I think by now you are all sure where I'm going with this. Luna and Nightmare Moon.
One fateful day, the younger unicorn refused to lower the moon to make way for the dawn. The elder sister tried to reason with her, but the bitterness in the young one's heart had transformed her into a wicked mare of darkness, Nightmare Moon.
To illustrate this link, we will look at another Byronic hero. In keeping with our previous example from Wuthering Heights, Heathcliff shall be compared. Heathcliff is described by his adoptive father as dark as the devil, marking his dark nature metaphorically implied through skin tone. Just as Heathcliff is a dark entity in a pure world, so too is Luna, the only dark character in a world of bright colours. Her own sister providing a stronger contrast to her as Heathcliff's pure white stepsister, Cathy. Heathcliff is also described as mightily powerful, while alluringly handsome in his own dark way, and few could deny the equivalent in Luna. God damn it, Rule 34, that is not what I meant. More striking still is the deterioration of their characters, both starting out brought up as nobility, but after being spurned, turning to violence and scheming. For Heathcliff, this is being spurned by his lover, Cathy. "May she wake in torment," he cried, with frightful vehemence, stamping his foot and groaning in a sudden paroxysm of ungovernable passion. "Why, she's a liar to the end. Where is she? Not there, not in heaven, not perished. Where? Oh, you said you cared nothing for my sufferings. And I pray one prayer, I repeat it till my tongue stiffens. Catherine Earnshaw, may you not rest as long as I am living. You said I killed you? Haunt me then. The murdered do haunt their murderers, I believe. I know that ghosts have wandered on the earth. Be with me always, take any form, drive me mad, only do not leave me in this abyss where I cannot find you. Oh God, it is unutterable. I cannot live without my life. I cannot live without my soul." I swear I was better at drama when I did it at school, but I digress. Heathcliff slowly becomes enraptured with revenge and loses himself to it, becoming the very monster he was always treated like. Luna is spurned by not simply one person, but the entire land of Equestria, and as a result the effect is far more violent, changing her very appearance and feeding her magical powers.
Remember this day, little ponies, for it was your last. From this moment forth, the night will last forever.
Seize her! Only she knows where the princess is!
Stand back, you fools!
Indeed, Byron's identification for the fall of a Byronic hero is more or less an exact summary of Luna's own. In his total alienation, he now actively assumes the tragic fatality which turns natural instinct into unforgivable sin, and he deliberately takes his rebellious stance as an outcast against all accepted notions of the right order of things. Luna, therefore, is the perfect example of a Byronic hero. Finally, I will look at the purely supernatural, that of the setting. This video has been less supernatural in focus than I had intended. Oh well. The setting of the first two episodes in terms of the Everfree Forest is undoubtedly Gothic in origin. There are the spectral shadows of Nightmare Moon's essence as she floats past, the darkness and the mist obscuring sight, and the eerie Gothic architecture in the form of the ruined castle. Most notable is Rainbow Dash's experience, which I will compare to an extract in Wuthering Heights. Lockwood has a dream in which he is accosted by the ghost of Cathy. The intense horror of a nightmare came over me. I tried to draw back my arm, but the hand clung to it, and a most melancholy voice sobbed, "Let me in, let me in." "Who are you?" I asked, struggling, meanwhile, to disengage myself. "Catherine Linton," it replied, shiveringly. Why did I think of Linton? I had heard Earnshaw 20 times for Linton. "I've come home. I'd lost my way out on the moor." Damn it. I was good at drama, I swear, I was. This is certainly more spine-chilling than Rainbow Dash's experience, but in both, the eeriness of the setting allows a protagonist to interact with ghostly apparitions, furthering the darkness of the piece and alluding to the darkness in the characters' hearts. Indeed, just because Rainbow Dash passed the test this time, does not mean she always will. The setting, then, may justly be deemed Gothic. However, the question remains, what do these episodes' Gothic nature mean for the series? To me, the answer lies within the mind of Lauren Faust, the show's creator, and crucially, the writer for episode 1 and 2. As has been made clear, Lauren had a clear intention when she began making the show to completely revolutionize girls' entertainment, and particularly to break away from the previous incarnations of the show. In her own words, Cartoons for girls don't have to be a puddle of smooshy, cutesy-wootsy, goody-two-shoeness. Girls like stories with real conflict. Girls are smart enough to understand complex plots. Girls aren't as easily frightened as everyone seems to think. As a result, I believe Lauren turned to the Gothic as the perfect genre for such a drastic revision of the show. The audience is like the outsider, being drawn into an unfamiliar land, not only because of the Gothic nature, but by virtue of it being a girly show. New ground, I dare say, for almost every older viewer. Twilight's being out of her comfort zone matches that of the viewer, and holds their attention where otherwise they might have given up. After this introduction, the Gothic genre's darkness comes into play. It was the perfect way to show the contrast between this incarnation and that of decades past. Just as Lockwood's cosy London world comes crashing down in Wuthering Heights, so too do the modern viewers' illusions of frivolous, girly cuteness that they are so used to shatter when beginning MLP, to be replaced by the harsh realities of a Byronic and tragic hero in Luna, and the dark, encroaching world of the Everfree Forest, with a real conflict unfolding before our eyes. Thus, the use of Gothic in MLP not only provides an interesting and visceral first story to introduce viewers to, but also works as a complex meta-narrative of the story of girls' entertainment itself, culminating in a masterfully executed first 2 episodes, without which all of Lauren's work may have gone to waste, and the Brony phenomena may never have taken place. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed yourself. What are your thoughts? Is my Gothic reading warranted, or do I extrapolate a little too much this time? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time then, this is Nightsphere the Gnostic. Goodbye.